theme. Today we're going to doodle with stencils. Yep, doodling with stencils. It's something I really like to do, like here and like here. This is one of my favorite spreads ever. I love this one. I did this several years ago. Here's another one. Here's another one. So this is I'm going to show you this a little bit close up again because we're going to be doing something like this. I like to start out with, first of all, I grab a piece of paper that I'm going to use, a paper that'll tolerate paint, first of all, because even though I'm doodling, I'm going to be using some paint. And so sometimes I do it in a journal like these I showed you, but today I'm just going to do it on a piece of white paper. And I have that Dick Blick, that sulfite drawing paper, that it's just so darn handy to have around. It's inexpensive and you just can't beat it. So I'm going to use that. I have previously gotten together some paints that are in an analogous color scheme, and I have some pens ready. You need a permanent pen, just like a Sharpie or something, or you can use this Identa pen if you like that. I love the Identa pens, so that's a good one to use too. And then when you do more fine line stuff, when we get closer to the end, you can use this, this Uniball Vision. And I am going to turn the camera around right now to this white sheet of paper. White on white. You know, that's not such a great plan. Let me grab a craft sheet here so that you can see the paper on the background. I was looking at yesterday's and I saw that I was a little out of frame on some of these, so I want to make sure I'm in frame today so that you don't miss what's going on. So we're getting ready to doodle. So I have some colors here that I've gathered. I have sponges to use with the stencils, and I have my markers. And then I picked mainly small stencils because I find it's easier to doodle with the smallish stencils. So the first thing you need to do is get your marker and put a pattern down here. And I like to do an organic pattern. I mean, you can see from these that I've done in the past that I like a real fluid look. For me, that's big hand thing, okay? So I need to loosen up and get a fluid look. So I got my hand going here. This is always the part that makes me the most nervous. Go figure, right? So I'm gonna just go ahead and draw. And there we are. That is all I do in the way of drawing for the first part, okay? And you can see I went over the edges. That's just kind of part of it, okay? Now, one thing that is really nice to do is to fill in some areas with black. And I failed to get my black gesso, so I'm gonna go grab it real quick. Now you can fill in the black parts now, or you can wait and fill those parts in later. This is just largely a personal preference thing. So I've got the black here at my side, and I'll be ready whenever I think I want to do it. Typically what I do is start with a couple colors, and then, so I'm going to put these down, and then I'll bring them over under the camera and show you what I've got going here. I'm using the Dick Blick, the matte acrylics today. You could use anything. It's, you know, it's not, doesn't require a specific paint. So feel free to use whatever you want. Okay, so let me get one more color out here. All right, so I'm going to bring the paints over. This is what I've got out so far. All right. A stencil like this hand stencil is a really good one to use for this because there's a lot of little patterns in here, and you can kind of take areas and you know, just put the patterns wherever you want. Okay, so let's say you're nervous about where you're going to put the patterns down. There's one of two ways to go. You can kind of block it off with like some deli paper so that you don't go too wild and exceed these places. That's one way to do it. Or you can just wipe it away real quick, which is what I normally do, but I'm going to try to block it off first and see how that works, and hopefully that'll work okay. All right, so I'm going to start with a little green, my normal pouncing methodology. This is one thing that's nice about using these small sponges, is that you have a lot more control when you get into those places there, those small areas. So let me hold this up and you can see where I blocked it off. Hey Nancy, how are you? Susan, Deb Carps is on here. You can see where I blocked it off, it stayed real clean. Now where I didn't block it off, the paint exceeded its area a little bit. I'm going to wipe it away with the baby wipe, but you know what? I'm not overly worried about it because you've got tons of options, and I know I'm going to be putting a design right next to there. Since I've put this design in one place, I'm going to go ahead and put it in another place because I find that to be just a really soothing way to work. I like to see it once or twice. I like it to recur within the design. I think it adds a nice rhythm to the design when you do it that way. So I'm going to put it over here, and I may very well do it in third place too. I probably will, knowing me, because I kind of like that. So now I've got it in the second place. Lift the stencil and you can see that I've got the same design in two places now. And I think I might just put a little bit of it right over here at the edge. This one little stencil, it comes with this nice point, or this one little sponge comes with this nice pointy part. And anyway, it's nice. So, okay. Now, this part next to here, let's say we just want to do that as a solid color part, because you know, not everything has to have a stencil, right? So I'm going to just take some blue paint here, and I'm just going to fill in. And color this section blue. And this is a really easy way to fill some space pretty quick here. And you can leave it like this, or let's say you want to go back later, you could stencil over it with white or with black or whatever you want to do. But I just like to pick a couple areas and just have some solid color. It's like building in a resting place, in, you know, if you're working on a painting or something like that. And that's what I think of these solid color areas. They can be considered resting places, or like I said, you can always go back and do more with them later on. Alrighty. Let's grab this stencil. This is a Ray Missigman design that I love. It's called Repetition. It's such an easy, accessible stencil to use. I love it. So I have picked one of my favorite colors to use. One thing that's nice about this stencil when I'm using it is the fact that you can match it up with itself, so that since I did that large space, I can put it down here, kind of match it up, and then continue on for the bottom part of this large space that I'm trying to fill. Just like so. And again, leaving some white in the background. It's a really good way to go. It adds a different level of interest than having, you know, these solid areas. And I think that it's kind of nice. I'm going to put it over here, just a tiny bit of it. Since we have such a large space of it over there, I don't think we need any more. And this brings me to a part here in the middle. I'm going to color that in black, that whole section there. Such a small section, it would be very difficult to stencil in. So, and we can pull it just down here and color this section in black as well. So keep your markers out there and on hand. So let's get another stencil. This is a very intricate design stencil that I really like for this kind of fill-in work. So I'm going to grab this gray, this very neutral color, and put it over in this section. This is such a fun thing to do. It just, you know, it doesn't take any particular skill level. There's no skill set on this one at all. It's just fun, and I feel anyway, that it's kind of gratifying because you get a nice little result. Okay, I went through 2 spots there. Not really a big concern for me. I don't care, because I do like repeating the patterns anyway. And I'm going to show you a little trick to make these areas a little bit more interesting here in a bit. So as I've done before, I'm going to repeat the gray area again. I'm thinking perhaps we want to get a little black in here now. So I'm going to get a bigger brush. I find the black is nice for helping to anchor the piece. So I'm going to put some right here. I've really got too big of a brush. I don't know what I was thinking. Big brush, Mongo brush. That's too big of a brush. You can move this around as you're working it, whatever works here. And we've got one nice black section that's going to help anchor this down now. Okay. And I think that I hope that you will agree that that adds a nice little anchor spot. So what I'm thinking is we've got black here. I think I want this whole section to be black as well. And all the way up through the corner. I think that that'll be a nice anchoring spot there too. I'm going to show you some ideas for some of these lines. I think you'll get bored, just bored stupid if I do this whole thing while you're on the air here with me, but I want to show you a few tricks that'll make it interesting, and we'll add some more depth within these doodled sections that you're doing. Okay, so we've got our 3 little black areas to anchor it. Let's put a little solid color here. I'm going to do it with the sponge. Sometimes I'll intentionally take it around like I am doing right now to give it a little bit more of an organic approach, because I find if I doodle too much like right inside the lines, it just, I I don't know, it looks too contrived. I mean, we are people, we are not machines, and I like to do things that are more interesting in that way. All right, now I'm gonna grab my Uniball pen, and one of the things I do is I expand some of the lines. So I just took that one wider, and I'm gonna color it in. These are all permanent pens. So if I go back and accidentally hit them with some paint later on, they're not gonna bleed out or do anything unexpected on me. I know that they're gonna stay permanently where they are. Okay. So see how that added a nice little hint right there of some additional interest? I like that. Let's put some more solid up here, and then we'll stencil over top of some of these solid colors. We'll do a little tone on tone where we don't use exactly the same color, but maybe we use something real similar. See how I'm turning the stencil around, and now I'm going to actually turn this a different way to see if I can get a different part of it over here and kind of match it up with that edge. Now, as you can see, I've gone over on the black, but I've got the opportunity to fix that. And hey, what is the worst thing that can happen? I have to paint over the black. You know, if I don't get it off in time, it's no big deal. Not that big of a deal. So I think that looks pretty cool right there. I do. And then let's take the black part. Well, let's see here. That looks good. I think another part of this right up here might look pretty good too. And here's the thing, if you go back then, you can always go back and do hand doodling right on top of these areas too. You know what? You're not limited to just what you've put down with paint. You can do more later on as well. Okay, so there's a couple areas. I'm going to turn it here the other way, and I am going to grab some golden fluid acrylic. My two favorite colors, transparent yellow and quinacridone nickel azo gold. So rather than finishing this up, and I guess we're actually pretty close to finishing, maybe I just will real quick. All right. I'm gonna finish this up real quick. Boop, 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 boop. See how fast I can do speed stencil maybe. And get some more paint on here. This is a great way to utilize stencils that have all these little baby marks on them, you know, because you can, ooh, dirty brush. Let's grab another one. That was a silly idea. You can use the very tiny parts of some stencils, and it's a great way to really let them shine. And if you look, it also is a great way to look at your stencils differently. I mean, you'll see things in your stencils that you never really saw before if you like kind of assess them for their doodle potential. You know, there'd be stencils that you never really thought, oh yeah, that would be a great one to doodle with, you know? So something to keep in mind. Let's put another batch of green down here. Even though we're next to the pattern green, I think I like this green reflecting off here. I think it'd be really pretty. This is a pretty green. This is one of those Dick Blick colors too. It's one that I buy over and over again. It's called Yellow Green Light. You can scribble in here. It's pretty dry in my studio today, so I didn't do it quick enough to get a scribble, but you could scribble, add a little bit of a texture. Let's do that back over here too. So to just give the areas a different interest is what we're looking for, right? So we've got two more here. Let's do a solid gray piece because we have no solid gray bits on here. So let's do that, and then I'm going to show you how you can pop these up and do some additional linear work. And then I hope everybody's going to run off and do some doodling. Yeah, I love my blues and greens. They're very soothing to me. Very soothing colors. All right, so there's that gray one. Now I got one more little piece here. I'm wiping the paint off with my baby wipe. And what am I going to do in that last little block? Well, when I'm out of ideas, let's just do a little black, another little black section. All right, now you could certainly stop here, right? You could stop anytime you want, but you know me, I gotta take it to the next level. So here are some of the things I'm gonna do. I am going to expand some of the lines like we've done here. I've already accidentally painted over some of them, so I'm gonna put my marker over them again. I am gonna put some golden paints on top of certain areas to get just that little glow that I like. The way I'm going to apply the paint, I'm going to get a paper towel and I'm going to spritz it with some water. And then I'm going to get a little bit of this transparent yellow oxide. And I'm going to just blot it away on my side, my palette. And then I'm going to just touch up some areas here and there. Not the whole thing, just a little bit. See how that like takes it to the next level? I got a few parts that still need to dry, but I want to layer up a bit. And these two colors are magic, magic, magic. Transparent yellow iron oxide, quinacridone, nickel azo gold. If you only buy two colors from Golden, these are the two. You can add them to anything and they just add this bit of warmth that is so appealing to me. This is the yellow oxide that I've added right here. And now I'm going to add a little bit of the nickel azo. Yeah, I love using the wet paper towel also because it's almost like you're just doing a little bit of a glaze. This is the nickel azo, so it's like a just a little bit more of the intensity than the yellow is. But it makes such a difference. And what I think is it's transforming this into something that seems a little bit more interesting than a doodle, right? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to make some of these lines more interesting. So right here, I'm going to expand this one. And this is largely a matter of personal preference at this point. I mean, you can leave the lines just as they are. See, we've already got that area right there. So I think I'll take it up here, then bring this down, make that a little bit of a fatter part. And we can see these pens are all different widths is the reason I keep changing pens. Look at that, I got a spot of the quinacridone gold right there. Oh, good grief. Yep, what can I say? so I just color in. Now this is the part where, like, let's say you're doing this part. You could do this part in the evening when you're just sitting around watching TV or something like that. You know, do the painting during the day, then save the embellishment parts. The thinner of the pens, and I'm going to add an additional bit of line across the piece. And this is where you can really play. So it just gives you that one more layer, right? And it's the variety in the width of the line that is going to make this become more and more interesting. So that's why I widen parts and then I leave parts really narrow. You can also go back into this any way you want with paint pens. You can add dots. So too, I think that this little part, it's such a tiny little addition, but to me, it really brings it up just another level, you know? Just this little bit of line work. It's very satisfying to do too. For me it is anyway. It's almost like you're making your own really cool coloring book, right? You know? Because it's just so simple. And I will probably continue to work on this for quite a long time after we're off the air, but I did want to just show you at least all the steps. This is kind of where I'm going. I will keep going and keep adding parts here and there. I think I'm going to add some additional depth with my goldens, you know, because I think they always add a little depth. I hope this inspires you to go play with some doodles tonight. Spend this hot or rainy or whatever kind of evening you have, cloudy, whatever it is, making some fabulous doodled artwork. And if you are so inclined, share this video with your friends, like our Facebook page, sign up for our newsletter, The Scoop. We're gonna have some exciting stuff happening very shortly here at StencilGirl. I'm trying to smooth out that layer I just put on there. And I would love to have you guys be part of it. So I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye.